Welcome. Today we're going to be talking to you about mentoring our new teaching-only members of staff to develop their teaching expertise. We hope that we can share our experience, and then you can also share the experience you've had within your own institutions so that we can learn together. So we're going to attempt to do this presentation in two parts. I'm first of all going to talk about how we've mentored our staff and we've developed their teaching skills through our peer supported development scheme, and that's a university-wide scheme. And then we're going to talk about how we've been mentoring our teaching only staff to be recognised through the relevant HEA stand in terms of teaching fellows, and also, if it's relevant, their PGCE status. We're going to tell you where we are now and what we would like to do next. So there's going to be two of us, as I've already mentioned, talking to you today, and that will be my colleague, Dr. Dawn Reilly, and myself, Liz Warren. There has been reported an increased amount of casualisation in terms of academic staff across or around the world, in fact, not just within our own country. And this is because we often find ourselves using what we will term as hourly paid lecturers, or it can be adjunct lecturers, and we've been using them because it's really important to bring many of our colleagues from industry into academia to share their knowledge with our students. But what we found is we've actually managed to use them a little bit more than we would do normally, and we've seen an increased percentage of hourly paid lecturers being used to deliver much of our teaching portfolio. That in itself is not a problem, because many of our colleagues that come and join us as hourly paid lecturers are actually excellent, and they bring in a huge amount of knowledge that the students can learn from because they can understand what's actually happening in practice. However, the problem comes when the percentage gets too high to be able to plan ahead for the next academic year. So when many of those staff leave because the end of term ends, we then are in a situation where we develop our teaching materials and plan for our modules, and of course that means we only have a limited amount of staff that are there, because the hourly paid lecturers, of course, are not required to contribute to that part of the particular year. So in 2019 we began a research project, if you like, to have a look at how much it would cost us to be able to convert the hourly paid lecturers into permanent members of staff, and we called those teaching fellows. So you can see there on the screen that in 2019 we actually employed 33, that's headcount, teaching fellows, and we increased that to 42 this particular academic year. And we've managed to support our teaching only staff in many different ways, but today we're going to talk about two of them. The first one is the inclusion of those staff into what we call our peer supported development scheme, and then of course mentoring them to engage in scholarship and also think about their own teaching practice by becoming a community of practice to examine how they can gain formal qualifications such as PGCEs, or how they can attain the recognition from the HEA body to be able to get some form of recognition through their teaching fellow programme. So our peer supported development scheme then is a new scheme. We have done similar things in the past, but now we have a university-wide scheme where every single member of staff, including our teaching fellows, will be paired with another colleague in a different department so that we can learn from different subject areas. It's completely confidential. It's a two-way practice, so it doesn't matter whether you're a teaching fellow or whether you're a pure researcher that does a small amount of teaching. You can be mixed up in many different ways, so we can all learn from our different strengths, and we can also advise on some areas of improvement. This has been acknowledged as something that is seen to be quite positive. It's still developing in the process, and of course, as I'm sure with all of your initiatives, COVID has brought some challenges as we've gone through this. But you can see from some of the comments that I have there on the screen that they've actually, or we have all found it very valuable, including our teaching fellows, because we can reflect on other people's practice as well as our own. I'm going to pass you now to my colleague Dawn so that she can talk to you about mentoring towards the HEA fellowship or completing the PGCE.
We ask that our new colleagues gain a teaching qualification or HEA recognition, and therefore a second way in which we support their development is through the mentoring relationship, which is part of the fellowship application process. Liz and I both regularly mentor colleagues toward various levels of fellowship, and this now includes our new teaching fellows. This provides us with an opportunity to help them to develop their teaching skills through our discussions about the fellowship teaching observation and also about other areas of the application. Feedback from our teaching fellows has been extremely positive about the benefits of the mentoring relationship. The mentor often is someone who has an existing relationship with the teaching fellow, and this provides a good balance to the way that we run the peer-supported development scheme, where our colleagues are paired with other people from across the faculty. So for a new teaching-only colleague, particularly while they are part-time and working in another role in their specialist sector, engagement with the scholarship in learning and teaching can be a previously neglected area. And part of the mentor role is to point colleagues toward the relevant literature as part of the preparation of the fellowship application. Again, the feedback from colleagues has been extremely positive about this, and I can see from the fellowship applications that I have read personally that our colleagues are reflecting on the scholarship and using that to improve their teaching practice and develop their expertise as teachers. So, reviewing where we are now, this slide shows you some of the statistics around the qualifications and recognitions. So of the 33 colleagues in the 2019 group, you can see that 27 of them have achieved a fellowship or a PGCE where that is considered to be appropriate. And there are 5 who are still working towards this with their mentors. So going forward, we are encouraging colleagues to think about the next steps for them, which can be perhaps a fellowship if they currently have associate fellowship, and that might be within 1 or more years as appropriate depending on their level of experience. So this means that we can extend that mentoring relationship and also continue to encourage our colleagues to engage with the scholarship in teaching and learning. That also includes encouraging them to think about whether they could author something, if they could author part of their practice to take their place within academia as teaching experts, including in internal and external conferences and various publications. So in this presentation, we've set out how we are developing the teaching expertise of our new teaching fellow colleagues in 2 particular ways, which is the peer-supported development scheme across the faculty and the university, but also in the mentoring relationship, which is part of a fellowship application. And the feedback from colleagues has been that these 2 different approaches have been extremely successful and well received, and they are supporting our colleagues to develop their teaching. This slide shows the references that we've used in this presentation. And thank you very much for listening to this presentation, and if you have any questions, then please do contact one of us by email. Thank you.